Hello everyone and welcome to the round glass review for the Asahi Takumar 500mm f4.5. This is a super telephoto lens made by the Asahi Optical Company from 1971 until 1975. Typical lens uses when this was released would have included wildlife, sports, trains, or other subjects that warrant or require a suitable and safe working distance. For your bottom line up front, think of this as an easily focused telescope. That's really the best use for it with an asterisk. I say that because it is a slow-to-use lens with a long focus throw and a lot of time needed to achieve focus and adjust the aperture. That said, this lens is sharpest from the closest focus point to about 15 meters out, and images beyond that focus point suffer from a lot of softness. Also, do not for any reason point this lens at the sun unless you have a suitable solar film on the front of the lens and that solar film has exactly 0 holes. This lens will destroy a camera if it focuses on the sun. Also, the heat from the sun building up in the elements can expand them or the housing and crack the glass or warp the lens's metal. Your focal length and angle of view are 500mm and 5 degrees on full frame. The aperture range is 4.5 through 45. The element and group count are 4 and 4. The design type is a triplet-derived telephoto. The filter size is 49mm and the filters screw into a 49mm thread in the back of the lens when you remove the lens mount. Also, the telescope filters that screw onto the outside of a telescope lens via set screws will mount on this lens, and that's how I mount solar film on this lens, with no telephoto lens, should solar film go anywhere except on the front of it. The closest focus point is 10 meters, which, in the US, is one modern pickup truck toddler safety unit, the minimum distance a toddler needs to be in front of an oncoming modern pickup truck in order for the driver to know what that thud was. This is manual focus only. The native mount is M42 for this version, but there was a subsequent model available in K-mount. The dimensions are 440mm by 127mm. It weighs 3,500 grams, 3.5 kilos. Well, I think this is going to be the longest list of tips I have come up with for any video in this series yet. First up, this lens requires a tripod. You can hand-hold this lens and get steady images, and most of the sample photos in this video were handheld. That said, it's very hard to do that because the focusing ring on this lens is so far back on it that holding the camera and the focusing ring provides basically no image stability. Then adjusting the aperture after obtaining focus means changing your grip, which means moving your hand, which means more image shake. A better design for this lens, I guess I should just invent a time machine and go tell the engineers this, would be that the focusing helical, if it had been at the front of the lens unit, would have worked really well because then you could hold the lens at the front of the unit and adjust the focus. Another weakness in this lens's design is that the focusing helical is relatively small for this lens and it bears all of the weight in front of it. And that has led to these lenses developing focusing ring wobble, a slight wiggle or wobble in the lens housing at the focusing ring. This is apparently not a repairable problem, as it seems to stem from wear in the lens's construction. Next, I'll say it again to make sure it gets hammered home. Never point this thing at the sun unless you know how to safely take solar photos. Third, this lens is very heavy, 7.7 pounds. This is not a backpacking or hiking lens, and while I have hiked miles with it to photograph wildlife, it always leaves me feeling absolutely pummeled the next day. Next up, this lens has the specs to be great for birding, but the focusing is very slow. To use this for birds, you will preset the aperture and then focus with your left hand as you track the bird. Just set your camera on burst mode and accept that of the 4,000 frames you take, about 6 will be good because the plane of sharpest focus on this lens is incredibly thin. Even stopped down, it's just a couple of inches at close focus points, but the hyperfocal distance at f45 is about 350 feet to infinity. Now, that seems like a lot, but the diffraction softness at that aperture will be extreme. And since diffraction starts at the aperture, the further forward an aperture is in the lens, the more that diffraction is amplified by the time it reaches the image plane. And this is a fun fact I learned researching large format lens videos, by the way. The small aperture size and distance to the image plane means that diffraction is very bad with this lens. I never had an image with suitable sharpness at an aperture smaller than f/16, and honestly, I rarely shot it smaller than f/11 because that was really the point at which diffraction started to be too much for me. If you limit yourself to f/16, the infinity focus zone is reduced to about 700 feet to infinity, and that's frankly not usable for anything except deep sky, astro-tracked nebulae, and galaxy photography. Being an ultra-fast telephoto lens, some cameras will experience physical shutter blackout at fast shutter speeds. If that occurs with your camera, as it does with my A7 IV, then set the camera to an electronic curtain. You will then get jelly effect on images if your lens is shaking at all, but you will not get that curtain blackout. Related to shutter speeds, anything slower than about 1/1600th handheld will show shake with film or on cameras that lack IBIS. With IBIS cameras, shutter speeds as slow as about 1/640th can be obtained sometimes. By today's lens standards, this lens is super soft, especially wide open, where the results are almost unusable unless you focus about 15 meters or closer. Plan to use this lens on full frame without cropping, otherwise the enlargement will show softness and will amplify color fringing. This lens also suffers from aperture-related focus shift as the aperture closes down, so for mirrorless and live view shooters, focus after you close the aperture. Basically what I mean by this is an issue that older fast telephoto designs had, where the focus point was different across the aperture range. And this had to do with the relative surface area ratio of light passing through the lens and reaching the sensor or film. Wide open, for instance on this lens, the outer 10mm ring, as just a random number by the way, I'm just picking that for easy math, is 6,660 square millimeters on this lens, versus the inner circle, the inner 10mm circle of this lens is only around 380 square millimeters. So the outer 10 millimeters of this lens lets 17 times as much light to the sensor as does the inner 10 millimeters of lens, or at least it has 17 times as much surface area to convey light. That's just a whole lot more. And that means that wide open, the focus point of this lens's images is going to be dictated or dominated by the amount of light coming through the outer portions of the lens versus the middle portions of the lens. That outer perimeter bends the light way more than the inner portion of this lens. And that means that the light passing through the outer perimeter of this lens is going to have a different focus point than the light that passes through the middle of the lens. This is something that is, by the way, corrected for in modern telephoto and long lens designs. So anyway, be aware that when you stop this lens down, your focus will shift. Now, the closest focus point on this lens is really too far away to be useful for small birds. If you want to photograph small birds with this lens, you will want to get a macro adapter for your mirrorless camera, as that can help get you close enough to focus on small birds. Now, this lens will also heavily vignette with some mirrorless adapters, specifically macro adapters, but even some standard adapters will cause a vignette when using this lens. Many of the images in this video show that, and some of the other full-frame images in this video are slightly cropped to remove that vignette. If possible, you want to shoot this lens either early in the day or in the evening after the ground has cooled down, unless you're going to be shooting at close focus. Now, the reason for that is because heat in the air from the sun or radiant heat coming from the ground will affect your images, especially if you're focusing more than about 500 feet away. Also, on a related note, the tube on this lens needs to be cool too. There's a lot of air inside of this lens's tube, and if the tube is warm, then the air currents inside of it will move. And what you will get is, this is a phenomenon that telescope users will experience. When that tube is warm, you get turbulence in the air between the elements, and that will affect your photographs by making the image quality suffer. Now, as stated earlier, you should think of this lens not as a lens, but as a refractor telescope, and treat it in the same way as you would any refractor telescope, with letting the air temperature inside of the lens equilibrate to the environment in which you're using it. Now, lastly, in the pantheon of hilariously hard to use lenses, this one's near the top. It's very hard to focus with this and also adjust the aperture and also to use it. If you want a 500mm lens and do not need this one specifically, look for a telephoto design with a smaller, lighter size. Sharpness is best at f8 and 11, and also the lens is bright enough at those apertures to generally allow proper focusing even with an SLR. Also, at focus points beyond 300 feet, the image quality is noticeably soft compared to focus points that are closer than that. The build quality on this lens is commensurate with lenses of the era, but the focus point wobble that I mentioned earlier is a known weakness. Contrast is another weak point, with general image flare occurring across the entire image, and that's especially true wide open. Chromatic aberration also, and though to a lesser degree, saps images of contrast and color accuracy. Out-of-focus areas are mixed. Triplets tend to do well with blurry areas, but this lens adds a correcting element, and that does seem to have some effect on this lens's blurry areas. Sometimes I think they're just fine, and sometimes I look at the image and it's like, this is not good. So that said, your experience will vary based on specifically how distracting the background of your images is, so pay a little bit of attention to that when you're taking your photos. Flare and ghosting are mixed, with flare being present at wide aperture shots as a general flatness to the image contrast and color saturation. Ghosting never occurred for me, and that is likely due to the highly effective lens hood and also my basic sense of self and camera preservation leading me to go out of my way to keep the sun out of the frame with this lens unless I had solar film on the front of it. Now, for chromatic aberrations, I rarely discuss these with lenses at all due to the relative ease with which the color fringing can be removed in post. But with this lens, especially wide open, it displays very strong green glows and color shifts for high contrast areas behind the plane of sharpest focus, and very strong and bright and large magenta glows for areas of high contrast in front of the plane of sharpest focus. That means in front of, closer to you, behind, further from you. These glows can be so strong that it can actually be hard to eliminate in post, and so many of the images you've seen in this video exhibit that. If you want to prevent that color fringing, there is one very easy way to do that, and that's just to simply stop down to f8 or smaller. Balance with cameras with this lens is laughable, and I'm only mentioning it here because, well, it's in the outline. Today, the Asahi Super Multi-Coated Takumar 500mm f4.5 telephoto lens is a specialty lens with limited usability. For the astrophotography or solography enthusiast with the correct equipment, it can be a highly useful tool, and the 49mm filters make it affordable to add some specialty filtering to the lens for some photographic uses. There are many more usable 500mm lenses on the market now, and this one really is best suited as an optic used where focusing speed and ease are not mandatory. Hey, and if you enjoyed this video, check out this other one you'll probably really like too.